This video is for business leaders who want to get and keep the attention of prospects to deliver value and advance the relationship. So if anything you hear on this video is of value to you, please like, share, subscribe, reach out to me if you have any questions. Thanks. So what this video actually does is it bridges the gap between Crush It Club 164, which is the video I did yesterday. This is Crush It Club 165. And what it does is it talks about yesterday's I called fake spurts, which is fake experts. That's a working title because I didn't have access at the time to my title optimization software. So I'm just going with that for the time being. And the other one, which was Crush It Club 163, which was now 2 days ago from today, and that was called Falling Asleep While Your Boss Yells at You. And now we're going to go into why I have such crazy names. First of all, the first one is about fake experts and how to sort of out them or detect them before you waste time and money purchasing their questionable products or advice. The second one is about the voluntary nature of attention and how you can use it to increase employee engagement in your workplace. The BBC article titled Busting the Attention Span Myth completely discredits the often shared and completely fictitious 8-second attention span bullshit. By the way, that's the name of this episode. Crush It Club 165, Busting the Attention Span Bullshit, because that's exactly what it is, and you deserve to know that. So you might wonder, why would fake spurts, those fake experts, keep repeating this nonsense? Well, let's look at there's basically 3 reasons, or at least that I'm listing today, and that is, first, it sounds scientific. After all, it has a number, 8 seconds, or less than 8 seconds. And then it compares us to another species. Oh my God, we have shorter attention spans than fish? Goldfish, those dumb things that swim around in the bowl? So, it's got that. It sounds scientific. The second one, and here's the interesting thing though, right? They like this scientific sounding thing because they think it gives them scientific credibility, the scientific credibility, in fact, that they crave because they're trying to establish themselves as experts when they know we're not just talking about imposter syndrome. They are imposters and they know it. There's a difference between that and doubting yourself. And they're hoping what this does is actually establishes them as experts because it sounds scientific. Now, it's both ironic and comical because all this proves is just that they don't know enough and haven't bothered to check the validity of this piece of bullshit internet nonsense, right? They think they don't even bother to verify that it's factual, and they don't know well enough or they don't care enough to actually bother to find that out. So they keep saying it and they keep sounding like experts, at least in their own mind. To anybody who's heard what I just said, not any longer. That would out them. Second, it's simple. Simple is good because simple can be conveyed fast. So what this does is it makes it easily shareable and repeatable as a soundbite of pseudoscience. In this case, in fact that's what this is, right? This isn't a simple fact. This is a oversimplification of a real fact, which is far more useful and, unlike this bullshit, scientifically true. I'll get to that in a second. So the third is it violates our expectations because it's surprising, shocking, and seems like it can't possibly be true that our attention spans are that short and that we have a shorter attention span than goldfish. And the main reason it seems like it can't possibly be true is because it isn't true. But that does make it a nice shareable soundbite that sounds like, oh my God, can you believe it? well, you shouldn't, because it's not true. So the actual truth is far more interesting and useful if you want to make content that keeps your prospects' attention long enough for you to deliver the value I talked about and to start a relationship with them. In the BBC article that I'm going to refer to here, and I think I might have already mentioned. Anyway, I'm a little bit scattered today, so excuse that. The article says, in just a few words, exactly why this is full of shit, and then goes into some detail. I recommend the article. Attention is task dependent. So your attention and how long it is and how well you are able to keep attention, or more accurately, choose to keep attention in most cases, is entirely dependent on the task itself, the subject of that task, and some other things that are coming up in a second or in a few minutes. And this is where it connects with my Crush It Club 163 about falling asleep as your boss yells at you. You'd have to go do that episode. I don't have enough time to cover it. But let's just say you could fall asleep with your boss standing beside you and yelling at you under the right conditions. And there would be nothing wrong with you, nothing neurologically wrong with you, nothing wrong with your hearing, and you could still fall asleep under the right conditions while your boss yelled at you for the next 8 hours. And you would sleep right through it. So what this is your RAS, or reticular activating system, and other parts of your brain decide in a fraction of a second whether something is interesting, attractive, or threatening enough to warrant your attention. If it isn't, it basically just assumes that you can safely ignore it, and your brain will ignore that. You do this all the time, right? Do you feel your glasses on your face? Not until I mention them, because your RAS, your reticular activating system, says it's safe, it's not a threat, you can ignore it and pay attention to more important things. So if it took anything close to 8 seconds for our ancestors to decide whether something was threatening, attractive, interesting, or in other way beneficial or dangerous, they would be dead, right? They would have been food long before they had a chance to play pass the genes with their mate. Since you're alive, it's like definitive proof that your ancestors made those life and death decisions in the small fraction of a second they had, preventing their own death and allowing them to pass their genes down to you. The fact that you're alive proves that your ancestors didn't take 8 seconds to decide whether something was dangerous or good, because that would be as long. 8 seconds, can you imagine? You're standing in front of a bear. It takes you 8 seconds to realize you should run, freeze, or fight? Nope. So you have nowhere near 8 seconds to put your attention into anything like that. Especially, so when we go back to the internet here, you have nowhere near 8 seconds to keep somebody's attention who has infinite choices, all of which are also competing for your attention. What you need to do is you need to grab people's attention with your content in fractions of a second. I'm not going to give you a specific number because it's sort of foolish, and it would be hard to determine scientifically exactly what that actual number is. But once you have someone's attention, you're just getting there. Now, the next thing you need to do is you need to convey in the next few fractions of a second to the next few seconds, why should they care enough to choose to continue to pay attention to your content and what you have to offer. Now, this is where it ties back again to episode 163, and several of my other recent videos. Unless the content is personally meaningful appealing, interesting, valuable to that person specifically, you've lost them probably in less than a single second, and they're on to the next thing. And that's why people think you have an 8-second attention span. It's not that. They're not keeping your attention because you have many other choices. You choose to move on. They choose to move on from your content. So in case you're wondering whether all this stuff I say is true, is it just bullshit, am I exaggerating? Ask yourself this. And yes, I'm going to swear again. I'm swearing a lot in this episode. If my attention span is only 8 seconds and shorter than a goldfish's, how the fuck can I watch a 3-hour episode of one of the Lord of the Rings movies without getting confused, lost, or distracted? Or, anything else, any other movie, anything else that takes longer than 8 seconds, how come you're able to pay attention? How come you've been able to pay attention to this video if you've made it this far? First of all, thank you. And secondly, how is that possible if your attention span is actually 8 seconds and not entirely task dependent and your choice? So the answer is simple. The 8-second attention span is false. Attention is task dependent and therefore dependent on how personally meaningful the content is to the person viewing it. And that's it for this episode, other than to say tomorrow's video will be a book review, relates back to this episode in a very interesting way. And it's Brendan Kane's excellent book, Hook Point, which is all about getting and keeping people's attention with what he calls hook points. So I'll be doing a brief book review on that tomorrow, which ties everything I spoke about today together into an empirically tested system that he has used over and over again for getting and keeping customers' attention. My name is Tim B. Green. This has been Crush It Club 163. Bye for now.